Hey everybody, it's Global Politics with Jim Martin. Today I wanted to talk about nuclear weapons and specifically where things stand with nuclear weapons stockpiles across the world. I bring this up because I noticed that there was a press release from the Department of Energy about a new nuclear bomb that has been developed and moved into production and indeed ready to be placed into inventory. It's a gravity bomb. It's for bombers like the B-2, the new B-21 Raider, that has some guidance capacities like you would expect in modern bombs that we see, JDAMs and things like this. A little bit of context to back things up. At one point in the 70s and 80s, you had a lot more weapons in the inventories of the United States and the Soviet Union. Something around the range of 7,000 warheads for the United States and something more like 9 for the Russians. Precise numbers, I don't have those in my head, but something like that. A series of arms control treaties were really initiated in the 70s and some small scale engagements with the Russians over these things. And those began to pick up in the mid 80s between Russia and the United States. You may recall the strategic arms limitation talks. SALT 1, SALT 2 were things that were talked about a lot. And there was some progress on restricting particular types of nuclear weapons at that time. Now, we have to remember that there were several nations that in the post-World War II era acquired nuclear weapons. Those include, of course, the United States, Russia, the United Kingdom, France, and China. Those all had nuclear weapons by 1960-ish. Then you see India, followed quickly by Pakistan acquiring nuclear weapons. Israel has always been suspected of having nuclear weapons. They never have confirmed nor denied the fact that they have nuclear weapons. And most recently, we see that North Korea has acquired nuclear weapons and tested them. Now, there were some countries in that time frame, notably South Africa, that probably had nuclear weapons and then stepped back from that capability and decommissioned their projects. Others, Libya, may have had one or was close to it, and other countries may have had programs of various kinds. We can't be for sure on some of those things. However, when you're entering into the 80s and moving into the 90s, particularly after the fall of the Soviet Union, it seemed like everyone just took a step back from that and said, what do we need these for? In fact, there were some early meetings between Gorbachev, who was the chairman of the Communist Party in Russia, US President Ronald Reagan, which had on the table to get rid of the respective countries' nuclear stockpiles relatively short order. That didn't happen. It's unfortunate. By the time we're getting into the 90s, we're seeing the devolution of thinking away from nuclear weapons and a lot of work done primarily by the United States to help clean up, mitigate, and reduce the capacity for nuclear proliferation and to help the former Soviet republics either return that material to Russia or to destroy it safely. For instance, Ukraine was convinced to give up its nuclear weapons, which were left over from Soviet days, and send those back to Russia, which they did. Where do we stand today? The United States is, since 2015, has engaged in a modernization approach to their nuclear weapons, meaning that they aren't adding new weapons, but they are replacing older variants with new, more advanced weapons, sometimes with larger capacities, larger explosive yields, things like that. Russia has been similarly engaged in a modernization effort, but also has been adding nuclear weapons since around that time. During the first Trump administration, it should be noted that we withdrew from several of the remaining treaties that were providing some sort of hold on US and Russian efforts to do things. Those are gone now. They're all expired. monitoring agreements, exchange agreements of experts, those things are all done and have been really since the first Trump administration. Who else is involved? The United Kingdom is beginning to build more nuclear weapons. North Korea has, of course, added more nuclear weapons, and China has also. Now, where do we stand on proliferation or new countries coming into the nuclear club? Very quickly, within weeks, perhaps a few months, Germany, Japan, and South Korea could have nuclear weapons. They have advanced industrial capacity, they have nuclear reactors, they have the stockpiles where they could do this. In months, Sweden, Finland, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and perhaps Iran. I've heard this about Iran for a really, really long time. I don't know if that is really true or not, but certainly I think that Iran could achieve that at some point in the future. But all the estimates that say, oh, they'll have a bomb in 3 months or 6 months, I've been hearing that for 10 years. It hasn't happened yet. Sweden, Finland, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, different matter entirely. These are countries that are part of the international system, have the connections, have the industrial capacity, have the scientists, have the raw materials needed to take care of this and make nuclear weapons on relatively short order. So that's where we're at. I find myself routinely saddened that as a country and as a collection of nations which were more or less on the same page during the 90s and early 2000s, that we did not address this when we could have. It's unfortunate. It adds a component of truly unprecedented danger to international conflicts of various sorts. And as globalization recedes and the world becomes a more conflict-prone place, it's not good. I welcome your comments. There are people who have a lot more inside information or study of these issues, not in a classified sense, but who know more than me about nuclear weapons production, etc. Feel free to share those in the comments. We can all learn together about this, and then perhaps that knowledge will enable us to advocate for a saner nuclear policy than we currently have. Please subscribe if you get the chance, and I look forward to talking to you again very soon. Thanks.